conflict resolution can be a challenge regardless if it's at home, at work, or among friends. Here today with some easy to implement strategies on how to come to a peaceful solution that works for everyone is licensed therapist Nanette Riendeau. Welcome back to ciLiving.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so you always bring us something hands-on and interactive. I see you have your board. Tell me about the best way to resolve conflicts.
Okay, so I know it's everyone's favorite topic, but actually one of the things I want to emphasize is that conflict is normal in healthy relationships. It's not the issue of whether or not there is conflict, it's how it's handled. So I think people often want to either avoid it altogether, but that builds up resentment, or they react very emotionally, which escalates things. So we're going to talk about a better approach. And I think it's important to know that conflict usually is about opposing needs.
Sure.
And opposing points of view. So we want our goal to really be understand our needs and the other person. Our goal to be understanding and balance rather than overpowering or winning.
You know, and I think that that's a really good point, because I feel like with conflict, it's that knee-jerk reaction, I think a lot of times, which then escalates a situation before you even know what happened. And then it's kind of too late to backtrack, because then everyone has their pride and it's a whole thing. So how do we be more kind and react appropriately when things happen?
I'm glad you asked, because I have a framework.
Oh, great. I love your frameworks. All right.
So the framework is 4 steps. Number 1, we want to start with stating the facts without blame. So for example, let's say your coworker stole your idea and presented it as their own.
Okay.
Instead of saying, like, I can't believe you stole my idea, that was so rude, you would start with stating the facts. So, you know, in the meeting earlier, I noticed that that project idea I had was presented as if it was new. Just the facts of the matter.
Okay.
No blame.
Great.
And then that leads into express your feelings about the situation. So this is not, you're such a jerk, you made me feel this way. It's when that happened,
okay,
I felt frustrated and overlooked because I put a lot of work into that project.
Okay. This already, I feel like I'm feeling not taking sides, essentially. Like, I feel like the whole thing is being very impartial and neutral, which I like.
The goal is to not elicit hostility, to not elicit that instinct to get defensive in the other person.
Right.
And people are more likely to listen and understand if they're not feeling like they have to defend themselves because they're feeling attacked.
Right, that makes sense.
So then the third step is you state the need.
Okay.
So when in that meeting, the idea was presented, I felt frustrated, overlooked, I put a lot of work into it. You know, I really need to be able to have my contributions acknowledged.
Okay.
Right? Fair.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I was the person who took your idea, which I would never do, and used it as my own, I would be like, okay, actually, I agree with you.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, what's next?
So the final point, and this one's really important, it's to make a clear request. Because if you just say, so would you please be willing to not be a jerk again? That's not going to be very clear.
Right.
And people might not know how to do that. But if you say something like, so in the future, would you be willing to let me present my own ideas? Then that person can say yes or no.
Right. And what if they say no? Let's take it one step further. What if they say no because it was a really good idea and I want to pass it off as my own? Then what do you do?
Yeah, so then that's data for you.
Okay.
About who you're working with. This framework is more likely to get a reasonable response, but it's not a guarantee.
Sure.
So sometimes you have to recognize that people are going to show you who they are. And you have to pick your battles.
Right, okay. And I feel like you have to sort of still, even with that person, try the framework every time that a situation arises and then see what happens.
Yeah, so do you want to try?
Okay, sure.
Okay, so I brought together these scenarios.
Okay.
And you don't know what you're going to get, but they're conflict scenarios.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to invite you to try it both ways.
Okay.
Do it the not helpful way first.
Okay.
The emotional reactionary way.
Okay.
And then try using the framework.
Okay.
All right, so select.
This is a little bit scary. All right. My scenario is your partner has developed a habit of interrupting you while you're speaking. You feel overlooked and dismissed. Okay, so yeah, I feel like the initial reaction to that, if someone's talking over you, would be to just kind of be like, let me speak, or be like, are you done yet? You know, like sort of that. Yeah, that would be my.
And do you think that would elicit a very patient response?
No, I feel like that would probably put the other person somewhat on the defensive.
Yeah, and so then your needs probably wouldn't really be heard.
Correct.
Okay, so let's try it this way.
Okay, so state the facts without blame. I was talking first. I mean, that is the fact, but maybe that's a little blamey. How would you say it?
I might say, when I was speaking earlier and you interrupted me before I'd finished my thought.
I like that. Okay. Yes. Okay. When I was speaking earlier and you interrupted before I finished my thought, I felt hurt and like you weren't actually maybe paying attention to what I was trying to say. So I need you to try in the future to let me get my thought out. Even if you have a great thought, try and hold it until I'm done. Please.
See if you can make this a need that's your need about what you need, as opposed to what you need him to do better.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. How about I need to finish my thought so that I don't forget what I was talking about.
Yeah, that's great. Or I need to feel heard, or I need to feel listened to.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then the clear request is please hold all comments till the end of my soapbox TED Talk.
Write them down on a note card.
Right.
Sometimes it helps to start with, would you be willing to?
Would you be willing to? That actually is easier. Would you be willing to make an effort to let me finish before responding?
Perfect.
Okay, great. I did it. That actually is so much harder, Nanette, than I would have imagined, because it's literally right there. Facts, feelings, needs, requests. But how to get to that phraseology is really actually trickier when you're put on the spot and have to draw a random thing out of a cup.
That's why I did that. It takes practice. It does take practice. At first you feel like you're using a framework that your therapist taught you, because you are. But the more you practice doing it, the more natural it becomes, and it really is effective.
Yeah, I can see how that would absolutely work, because when you were giving the example, it was great. So, well, thank you so much for being here. Welcome. I really appreciate it. And if you want more information or you want to watch this segment again and apply these to your life, you can do so on our website at ciLiving.tv after the show.